Hey everybody, what's up? It's James, also known as Skate Punk Lefty, here with another video. You see, today originally I was gonna go over this and I still most likely gonna do it because I have enough time today because my wife is at work. I got off work like way earlier and what have you, and I've been just sitting here not really doing much, but. So originally, I was gonna do a video, and I still probably gonna do it. This video on the PragerU Amala person talking about why she left the left. It was a really quick 5 minute video, but as soon as I typed in why, for some odd reason, it said why is masculinity decreasing. So from about 3 videos that I've picked up, I was clicking through because I was gonna do 2 other ones before this one. Maybe I would do those at a later date, or even today if I have enough time. But we got resident right wing hack stooge Patrick Beck David to try to teach us about why there's a rise in weak men. And let me tell you something. This phenomena of so-called weak men rising up is not real. What's happening is that in humanity, especially in the Western world, we are redefining what it means to be masculine and what it means to be a man. What the fuck do I mean by that? I mean that at the end of the day, one thing that a lot of actual good men have to learn is that there's more to being a man than being abrasive, abusive, mean, neglectful, spiteful, taking advantage of people, being the go-getter. Being a man is also about being kind, being gentle, knowing when to be soft, knowing when to care, knowing when to, not be selfish and stuff. And don't get me wrong, things like, having attitude, being aggressive, and being mean can be used for like, a lot of positive and good things, but that's not the end all be all to being a man. Sometimes being a man, it takes saying I can't do it. It takes being nice to people you don't like, or having taken a second guess at things in life and having a better understanding about your place in the world and things that is going on in the world. And maybe sometimes not being a capitalist stooge, just like, okay, I do what you tell me. If you tell me to work 60 hours a week, Gary V, I will do it. Being a person say like, no, I'm not working 60 hours, I'm going to work 40, and you're going to pay me like I worked 60. You can say that's a very manly thing to do, like standing up to you know people that are in higher positions of power for a good cause. But that's basically my opinions on what's happened to masculinity. There's still plenty of, cisgender, masculine presenting men out here. It's not like, a bunch of men are becoming gay and stuff. And, there's other things that people might say, like, so why is there a decrease in the birth rates? It's because people aren't having children because they can't afford it. Most of the stuff that is happening that are causing a lot of the changes in society that a lot of people may or may not understand are socioeconomic. And we might as well just get right to it.
But today it's toxic masculinity, right? You're hearing it everywhere. People are being canceled for being a man's man. But the reality...
I wouldn't really say that's being a man's man. In my opinion, at least, toxic masculinity, and I'm not reading off of because you see I got the video right here. I'm not reading out of a feminist theory book. I'm not reading off a Google search or nothing like that. Toxic masculinity is just basically being a boorish, brutish man in the worst possible way sometimes, doing things that you have no business doing. Things like bullying, things like harassing women, harassing people weaker than you, even so-called quote-unquote weaker men that may be smarter than you but aren't, as physically strong. Taking advantage of people because you have money or, size and strength to take advantage of people. There is forms of masculinity that can be toxic. These are acts of masculinity, but every act of masculinity is not, a good act of masculinity. Like, let's say like you see somebody getting bullied, you grab the bully's hand and you slam that person to the ground. That's a good act of masculinity. A toxic act of masculinity is being the person doing the bullying. And I think that's an easy way for most men to see what toxic masculinity actually is. Don't use your masculinity or your traits as a man to take advantage of or abuse other men or women. That's just bad. It makes you an asshole. And then a lot of people that display these traits, you know, and then of course it gets into them having an adversarial relationship with women. Wonder why they single. It's because no woman wants to be around somebody that doesn't know how to be soft and joyful, and somebody that's always, got their hands raised, ready to put their hands on somebody.
The reality of it is, 1944, a man's man was storming the beaches of Normandy, and they knew most of them.
In spite of people like you, I really don't like when they bring up the anti-Nazi, screed and shit like that, because people like Patrick Bet David, although I don't feel like he's a white supremacist or a Nazi himself, enables white supremacy and neo-Nazism through the way that he, his worldview and the things that he defends, in a way that he promotes solutions to men and stuff like that. Just saying men are weak and stupid nowadays because men are expressing themselves differently, and creating a brutish reactionary world where people aren't allowed to be themselves causes, the beaches of Normandy to have to be stormed. A lot of men these days are insecure about a lot of things in their life, and you repackaging that insecurity or those ignorance as, like, quote unquote strength is what enables things like fascism and neo-Nazism. Not to say Patrick Bet-David is one himself, but I kind of feel as though his worldview enables it by, constantly playing on men who feel emasculated, which a lot of men are, but it's by capitalism, white supremacy, patriarchy, not by a few more gay people just coming out in the open, or some men taking other careers like nursing or doing hair. It's not, that's not what's causing the financial turmoil and sexual insecurity in men. And by the way that Patrick, him and all the other, right wing grifter, alpha male dipshits, you just gotta work 60 hours a week, you gotta grind, never complain, you gotta eat shit and love it. And then these men are frustrated and angry that they haven't accomplished the things in their life that they wanted. It's because of videos like this, that a lot of these, and then videos like this, ironically enough, you can say they are a root, to the alt-right pipeline, because a lot of men feel that emasculation, or feel that they're not quite fitting into society. And why? Because they haven't learned that it's more to being a man than being angry and aggressive, or spiteful, whatever. And there's a side of being a strong man that's about being soft, gentle, knowing to care, working with others, etc. And when they never learn that second worldview that I had to learn as a man, as so many others learn, they become spiteful and angry, and this puts them on this hatred of the changing world puts them on a fast track to becoming a fascist. So, like, I really don't like when they say, like, oh, men were storming the beaches all these years ago. But it's like, even though this propaganda isn't one to one with neo-Nazi, well, not with Nazi propaganda or fascist Italian propaganda or Franco propaganda, or even the stuff that Stalin was saying back in the day. It's not one to one with these things, but playing on people that feel emasculated by a changing world is a route to how people become fascists, and then the more liberal or democratic thinking people or leftists have to, like, fight against these people. Like, you're a part of the problem, David. And I know that was a long screed, but I want every man that watches stuff like this to understand it's like, when you become so angry, aggressive, and abhorrent about a changing world without adapting and trying to fit into it and figure out what's more to being a man besides being angry, aggressive, and brutish, you put yourself on a fast track to becoming a fascist. You may or may not be there yet, but you can be saved. Like, just think about this one quote: you got to be strong enough to care. And once you understand what that actually means, it'll take you off that track. And I'm gonna end this kind of like Stunlock / Screed right now.
And we're going to lose their lives, but they're like, nope, I'm doing this because this is what men are supposed to do. Today, people are storming the beaches of their couch to play Call of Duty. 40, 50 years ago, without social media.
It's because technology and time has advanced to a point where we have more comfortable living conditions. What the fuck do you want? Do you want us to still be listening to the radio, hanging out by the side of the bar spitting? Like, what the fuck is up with you, dude? And then, not to mention the fact you're a wealthy businessman, Patrick. Your dumb ass wouldn't have got your ass up and went to go fight no war. I don't think you have a military service record. Neither do I. And then with the way that the draft worked, especially during Vietnam, it's more likely that my black ass would have had to go than your white pampered ass.
We had to go learn how to pick up girls and flirt and have lines and be rejected. Today, you just got to swipe right. Years ago, you had to learn how to hunt.
Both still happen. And then there's like videos like this, like I said, is a part of the pipeline that lead people to be like fucking dating game gurus trying to figure out how they can get the most swipes on Tinder. And then not to mention the fact the reason why these apps are so popular is because capitalism has created a society in which people are working more, people are, doing their schoolwork more, people living a lot more isolated than they once did. You are the motherfuckers, Patrick, you and your grind set hustle dipshits, you, Gary V, Tate, and all these other motherfuckers like, oh, you gotta work hard, be on your grind, you gotta hustle hard. And you really think after all the fucking hustling 60 or 70 hours a week, people gonna have time to go to a fucking bar and try to like pick women up? No, people don't have the time anymore. Not even women have the time because they have to get their shit together to survive.
To get your food today, you just call Uber Eats. Lots changed.
They used to have to hunt, so now you can buy food. What happened to masculinity? You sound like a bitch.
Men becoming pansies? Are they becoming soft? Are we becoming passive? Like, oh my gosh, betas? Is that what's happening?
And keep in mind, bro, I keep pausing it because, a conservative says a lot of dumb shit. And I'm gonna stop trying to catch everything, but keep in mind, men are becoming passive, says the people that teach people to accept things like patriarchy, capitalism, and white supremacy, but especially accept capitalism. You're the motherfucker that tells people to not organize in unions. You're the type of person that tells people not to vote for politicians that man them to have better working conditions. You're the man of non-resistance when it comes to carteling to the wealthy, but when men actually want to express themselves in different ways or want a little bit more out of life, you're the one telling them to stand down and be passive. Go fuck yourself.
I got a bunch of data I want to talk to you about that has to do with what we bench press 30 years ago versus today. Squat, our grip strength, bunch of different things that are influencing men to become softer. And for some of you that are watching this that completely disagree with my message, I would love to have you watch this message and post your commentary below at the end of the video.
Oh, you'll see. Hey, I got my commentary on video. I would love for you to waste my time and tell me how to be a man that's not as tough as I am. Man that sits all day on videos, fucking pipelining people to fascism while I go work at a factory every day.
Stick around till the very end. I got a quiz for you to take to know exactly what you're driven by. But it's important for us to look at some of the data to know if this is just gibberish or how are men really viewed and what kind of a life men live today. Before we get into it, I just want to give you some stats on is there any relevance
I really don't give a
men
fuck.
Really struggling today? Like they can't find themselves. Are they really becoming softer or not? Scott Galloway wrote an article. The title was "The Most Dangerous Person in the World is a Young Man Who's Broke and Alone." Let me read some of the statistics that he has in this article. Men are more likely to use almost all types of illicit drugs at a higher rate than women, thus their higher prevalence of emergency room visits and inpatient substance abuse treatment. 93% of prison inmates are male, as are 98% of all death row inmates. Men are dramatically more likely to be homeless and for longer periods of time. Men now account for 41% of college enrollments, down from 60% in 1970. Men are twice as likely to overdose, 3.5 times more likely to commit suicide, and more than 9 times more likely to be incarcerated. A recent study revealed that 9 out of 10 mass violent attackers were male, and more than 2/3 of them were under the age of 35. Once again, the most dangerous person in the world is a broke and alone young male. Scott Galloway recommends 3 things. Start making money. We are living in a capitalist.
Okay. Number one, this is all thanks to capitalism. Thanks for bringing it up. I brought it up a little earlier, but everything from the fact that drugs are illegal the way that they are, the way that the prison industrial complex works, the way that we made college pay to go, the way that wages are barely keeping up with inflation, in some cases just really don't unless you have a union, which I'm lucky enough to have. You won't be making it in life as a man. And that's thanks to the capitalist structure that, in so many different ways that I couldn't even go over in this video. I will be here all day fucking talking. And I'm already a little tired. about the ways which the system of capitalism works in ways to fuck over men and women. And don't believe this shit that women are just getting by easy for just being women. They're struggling too. And that's thanks to so many different systems, from the criminal justice system to the our welfare system, to the way that our government works, that's making people's lives harder. The money interest of these wealthy people matter more than the life of every single man in this country. So that in turn creates a paradigm of economic policies that just hurt people. And it's made worse by the fact that people listen to people like Patrick that Bay, like, yeah, man, I just need to work hard, get on the grind, hustle. This neoliberal, individualist, capitalist bullshit where everybody wants to, work by themselves, be for themselves. Oh, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. It's the worst thing. All that bullshit is what's hurting men and keeping men behind. It's simple things like, having roommates, working together with others, forming unions more often, voting for politicians that actually at least express a semblance of giving a fuck about their fellow human being. Not trying to be a Democrat endorser, but, kind of got better policies when it comes to working class men. Stop voting for people who have policies that literally say, if you work for a living, fuck you. And this reminds me of, like, a joke post I saw one time on a stimulus check. This dude was like, I don't want a $1,200 stimulus check. You should take $1,200 from me because I like hustling hard and getting it in the mud. It was a meme, a joke caricature about people like that, but it's a lot of men that are probably watching my commentary video and, watch a lot of Patrick Bet-David and Tate and Gary Vee and all these other alpha male hustle culture dipshits. And they think like that. And that type of thinking, this worship of capitalism, this worship of money, this worship of power, this toxic individualism is what's hurting and killing men. And it's nothing wrong with having aspirations and wanting to be more in your life. But don't try to have so many aspirations and wanting to be more at the expense of yourself and the people around you.
Society, get super strong, you want to be fit, you want to lift heavy weights and run long distance.
Being strong in this society, I'm sorry to say it, but it'd be good for like self-defense, but it really doesn't mean shit. Like, I'm sorry to say, like, don't get me wrong, like, it's nothing wrong with like working out, but it's just like, just know that working out and being strong ain't gonna solve all your problems. It's like I said earlier, this is a part, again, and I'm trying not to be like pedantic and picky because he haven't even really gotten to his part of the video, but it's just like being strong won't solve all your problems in life. Every problem don't get solved with like, doing this or grabbing people and stuff. A lot of problems in your life that come up, you're gonna have to solve it with this. Simple fact.
Instances in your mind and in the gym, and last but not least, get out there, commit to meeting people, and quite frankly, try having sex. So interesting 3 points.
What does that even mean? Like, try having sex? Like, it's like, just know that a lot of men, out here, especially that are incels and shit, sex is not something that is so easily obtained by just talking to a few people. It can take a while, and it's okay to be patient, and take your time meeting the right woman. Or the right man or person in between. You might wind up with a non-binary person. Who knows? But just take your time. Don't discriminate. Have standards, but don't discriminate. Don't be an asshole talking about some all on the internet talking about some, oh, I don't want no girl that's 300 pounds. But don't discriminate if the girl is a little on the heavier side. And take your time in life. That's all I can really say about having sex. Don't try to force yourself to have, these unnecessary standards of things that you have to achieve. Do things as you can, as you feel like it.
Start making money today, get super strong, and finally get out and commit to meeting people. But are we not stronger today than we were before? Let's take a look at some data to see if men are stronger today than maybe 20 or 30 years ago.
Nobody cares about any of this shit.
Things I want to look at. I want to look at our bench press to before, squat, as well as your grip strength. They say your grip strength is a strong predicator of mortality in later life. So are we stronger today or before? Here's what the numbers tell us. So they surveyed 1,800 lifters ages 20 to 39 to see what the average bench press was 30 years ago versus today. And here's what they came up with. What the average man could bench press 30 years ago versus today. 30 years ago was 240 pounds versus today 187 pounds. Squat was 277 versus today 225. So when you look at this data, how do you...
I've been over this already. I already said that being, strong and having a lot of strength ain't gonna solve every problem in your life. So this shit means nothing. Like, if you are a man that likes, like, it's like this. See, so you see, and it's like, I feel like we kind of breaking into one of the main issues with these type of guys is that, dude, it takes more to being a man than, like I said, being strong and how much you can lift and shit. That's not the end all be all of being a man. I'm not saying that he's saying that, but it's kind of being like implied here heavily that, men are so much weaker nowadays because they don't bench press or lift a certain amount. Like, bro, fuck all that shit. Do things at your own pace and find things that you're talented at. I feel like that's one of the reasons why the so-called bench press is less, because it's not as many men going to the gym because the gym doesn't matter. Fuck the gym. I don't know how much I can bench press. I'm a factory worker and I skate. That's all the exercise I fucking need. Who the fuck gives a fuck about... And it's like, I'm not trying to harp against gym culture, but people like, Patrick McDavid and all the other, like, alpha male weirdo, capitalist, apologist, fascist, pipeline dipshits really make me never want to go to a gym. Because they're so fucking toxic to the culture. That it's like I said again, there's more to being a man than how strong you are. Flat fucking out. This shit doesn't mean anything. I don't care.
Like, why are we looking at this data? Maybe, just maybe, they're trying to get women to become stronger and men to become weaker. Maybe I'm wrong.
What the fuck are you talking about? You are wrong. What are you talking about, dude? Nobody fucking cares.
I'll tell you, at our Vault conference we had with a couple thousand people there, business owners, entrepreneurs, I challenge everybody to go do a certain questionnaire the first night, and the next they come and share their breakthrough with everybody. While I'm going through everyone, a lady sitting right here, like 7 rows right there, she gets up and she says, Patrick, I have to tell you my breakthrough last night. I said, what is it? She said, for the last 20 years, all I've been trying to do is compete against men to prove that I can make as much money as they make. I'm strong. I don't need them. I'm independent. I run a very successful salon. I do very...
And we go with the anti-feminist angle. Like, the woman just admitted to me that all the feminist ideals of progressing women rights forward is a bad thing. He's not directly saying that, but it's being implied here by proxy, because I don't believe this was said. This is the tickle the fancy of, like, incels or isolated red pill, like, pickup artist niggas who want to like smell their armpits. This is not like something women just say. No woman has ever came to me, and I've met so many feminist women, so many women that have businesses that made more money and all this other shit. No woman is gonna come up to you and say like, oh, my whole life I was trying to just outdo men, because men are not, women are not trying to outdo men. Women are trying to survive. And we keep bringing up capitalism earlier, like, women are not going to just be fucking lying in the streets, waiting for men to come pick them up and take care of them and shit, sitting in the fucking rain. Women are going to do what it takes to survive. And this bullshit where he's trying to be like well, the woman came over to me and said that she just want to give everything up and just be somebody's wife. No, it's in fact, showing that women want to be in relationships while still maintaining their financial independence. Or will only give up their financial independence when they are with somebody that they feel secure with. Because, they have to survive too. Like, women, like, I don't know what you think. Do women, like, live in a shelter and then, and then they go to bars, and then if they don't find a man that's going to date them and take care of them, they just go back to the same shelter and they do that until they get married? Like, what the fuck is this? Whatever. Like I said, this shit didn't happen.
Very well for myself. Everybody that works with me makes great money. I'm very, very, successful right now. To my friends, to my peers. I said, okay, and where are you going with this? What's wrong with that? She said, the breakthrough I have yesterday is men are not the enemy. I want
capitalism is.
I want to get married. I want to have a family.
So that means she wants to, like, give up all... See, bro, this bitch ass nigga And I was trying not to get mad. I say that every video. Like, I really be trying not to get mad at these people, but it's the way that they dog whistle and imply trying to put people socioeconomically behind. They do it to women, to black people, to gay people. They do it to everybody who they feel doesn't fit their, whatever type of video we're watching. They do it to everybody who they feel are not fitting their social role models of who they want to be on top in society. And it's like, this is implying that we should just give up on feminism and the fights for women's equality. Women should all quit their jobs and be socioeconomically behind men to make a few sorry ass dudes happy. And it's like, I'm trying not to be mean like that because, I spent a lot of time by myself. And even though I've gotten around the block, and before I've gotten married and stuff, and I'm quite more of a confident man now. And it's like, I'm not trying to discount the feelings of people who feel that way, but it's just like, why the fuck do you want to live in a world where women just, like I said, they just line the fucking sidewalks and wait on men to take care of them? This is fucking horrible, bro. Because like I said, this is being implied like, oh, all this women working and having careers for themselves. Well, I heard a woman say that she doesn't want any of that. She just wants to get married, and she feels stupid for chasing, her dreams and actually being financially viable and independent by herself. That's basically what's being said here. And it's like I said, most women that are successful know how to find somebody to date and be in a relationship with without giving up on their careers and aspirations and maintaining their financial autonomy from a man. Like I said, this is a feel-good story for men who are single, and then every woman that they meet has a job. Because like I said, women are not gonna be lining fucking homeless shelters waiting on men to save them. They have to work too.
Is that right? The person she wanted to be the entire time, now she wants to marry. How many endless videos can we see with women in their 60s who bought into the feminist movement to make men and women equal?
They didn't buy into the feminist movement. They bought into the capitalist movement, dumbass. You see, I knew it would get here eventually, and I knew it was being implied that the socioeconomic advances made by the feminist movement and its allies were being criticized a few minutes ago, and I went on an entire screed about how women are not going to be lining fucking sidewalks waiting for men to pick them up and take care of them. But it's like, the problem with the world the way that it is, and why a lot of people feel empty at early ages, why these women feeling empty, is because they wasted their lives to capitalism, to working all the time. Not because they, didn't just give up on their life and get a fucking man. Everybody, to a certain extent, even young people, can feel like their lives is being wasted. I feel like I'm wasting my time at my job, but we do it anyway because it's necessary for us to survive. And a lot of people get to this age where they actually do make it and they finally get to settle down, and then they turn back and realize, I worked my entire life. And then people like you, Patrick, who will be like, you got to work 70 hours a week, man. You got to be on the grind. You got to eat shit and love it, cuz you can't listen to no liberal telling you to be lazy. Don't form no union because you need to go in the office and ask for a raise yourself and get yourself fucking fired. You got to be on the grind, man. You got to be on the grind. And then women are susceptible to that propaganda too. And men of course are susceptible, and this causes us to have empty fucking lives because we waste our time slaving to a system that does not care about us and never will care about us.
They're saying, I regret making that decision
to get a job.
I'm single, never been married, don't have any kids, and I'm alone. And I wish I would have married, man. I wish I would have had kids because I wouldn't have been alone today. Next point is a lack of male role models in a boy's life or a man's life. So if you look at some data here in 2019, some 15 million children in the United States were living with a single mother. That's about 5 times more than those living with a single father. As divorce rates rise and family courts continue to favor mothers, the amount of boys living without a dad will continue to grow. So why is this so important?
We'll take this one. This is a feminist problem. Feminists actually want the man to be able to keep the child. Feminists fight for actual gender equality. It's a bad stereotype that women are better caretakers of children than men. And I bet you Patrick dipshit ass believes that too, that, oh, the woman is the bearer of the child, she's to stay in the home and take care of she takes care of the offspring, while the man goes out there and hustles and get on the ground. You know, people that say those fucking dumbass stereotypes about how a family should be set up. You just in the last couple of sentences just was saying how women shouldn't work and how women need to be mothers to children and shit like that. Those continued stereotypes in society cause women to get stuck with the children more than men. Then especially if we're talking to poor community or black communities and working class people, a lot of people are in jail or their parents die thanks to our fucking failed healthcare system. There's many different reasons why so many people are living with a single mom, and it's not because women aren't quote unquote feminine.
Well, there are certain things I can tell my boys that my wife can't tell them, period. I can go tell my boys we're going outside and we're playing, they have to listen to it. I can go tell my boys you have to read 20 pages a day. They may tell Mom, I'm good, I don't need to read today, I don't need to do this, I don't need to do that. There's just certain things my dad could have told me that my mom couldn't tell me. There's a very, very big value that men have in a boy's life, but the more divorces we get, and the more fatherless homes that we have, men don't know what it is to be a man's man.
Not to mention the fact a good amount of divorces happen because people listen to people like him. It's like I keep saying, and I said in that one video when I was doing an angry rant, a lot of divorces happen and a lot of men are single, not because women are just leaving men and trying to take their money. A lot of men are abusive pieces of shit. Like I was thinking about a relationship a few days ago. I heard some news about, you know, I'm not going to say who or what, but you know, and I was thinking about this guy is a fan of, like, you know, Andrew Tate and all this other shit. I'm thinking, like, yeah, this dude was abusing the shit out of that girl, probably. And that's why they actually probably originally broke up. So, like, you know, a lot of people, without even having any type of pre-existing grievances against women, listen to all this alpha male bullshit content like this, and then they go out in the world with a certain social expectation for women. You know, like in the movie Falling Down, for instance, you know, you wind up with people like that, and then when women divorce them, they wonder why. Like, you get a lot of divorces are not just because of, or, you know, I want to say a lot of fathers are not just in the home, not just because there's socioeconomic problems, but a lot of men just ain't shit. And the woman wants to get the child and wants to get themselves away from them. And then a lot of women, you know, go into homelessness and all type of shit because they don't want their child living in a household with an abusive man. Because every man is not a good role model.
Matter of fact, let's look at a complete different angle. Most kids who go to school, most teachers are women. Most teachers are not men. So just recently I had my kids watch Captain.
That's due to the further stereotype, again, that women are better caretakers of children. That's why you don't see as many men in daycare and being teachers either. Is because we continue the social stereotypes that women are better caretakers, women are better caretakers, women are better caretakers. And we continue the stereotypes, so yes, you're going to see less men in certain you know, professions that involve, you know, taking care of children, or just even at home in general. Like a lot of the you know, because it's like I think things are beginning to be a lot more balanced depending on the household. But yeah, a lot of the childcare responsibility gets shunted off on women because, like I said, we keep repeating that stereotype.
Derek Jeter, and there's a scene in this documentary where Derek Jeter is drafted by the Yankees. His dream becomes a reality. He always wanted to be a shortstop for them because his dad was a shortstop. He goes, but he's not doing well. He's making errors. He's making mistakes. He's doing all this stuff, and he's having anxiety attacks. He's depressed almost, and he makes a phone call to his house. Mom's talking to Derek, and Mom says, son, why don't you just come home? The father says, when I heard my wife saying this to Jeter, he says, I told her, don't tell him that. He can't know that's an option. So now.
And then, speaking of men killing themselves, this is shit like this is why a lot of men are suicidal, because we uphold expectations that they can't feel. You know, because like a thing that you need to keep in mind, different kinds of men are gonna have different talents at different, you know, in different ways at different rates. So every man ain't gonna be able to hold up the responsibility or social expectations that we put on them. This creates a lot of anxiety, depression, and this can lead to things like drug use and malnutrition and what have you, and other abusive habits. Like just simply being exhausted and just tired of life and wondering why they're not getting fulfillment, even though they're chasing a dream that their toxic ass father or other male role models set up for them, and then they wind up committing suicide. Because we need to don't get me wrong, I'm not saying not pep talk people and just like let people give up on everything, but I'm also saying that you gotta let people live to their limits, and if they're at their limit, it's okay to walk away from stuff and give up or try again in a few years. But we keep telling men like, no, you quit this job, you're unemployed, you stop playing, you don't play football, you don't play basketball, you don't do this, you don't do that, you're not a real man. And so many people put their sons and have their expectations on their sons and or on younger men in their lives, and when these men don't feel these expectations, they feel a lot of grievance, and like I said, they wind up killing themselves. We need to teach men that it's okay to walk away from some challenges because you can't do everything.
Let's replay this. Say the father's not in a picture. Say the mom's able to convince Derek Jeter to come home because no mother wants to see their son suffer, and she's witnessing.
And no father would want to see his son suffer either. And don't tell me that suffering like builds character. Sometimes it can, but constantly, putting your son through strife and suffering can exasperate the problems in their life. All forms of suffering and inconvenience, it's not good. It's not good every time, all the time.
Son Derek suffered, but the father says that's what builds character. Let him go through it. If that doesn't happen, you don't have a 5-time World Series champion, few $100 million, one of the greatest Yankees of all time, 3,400 hits. If that's simple.
But that's not the entire story of every single man that wants to give up on something. Because there's a lot of men working a lot of toxic ass jobs and trying to live up to a lot of toxic expectations on football and basketball teams and soccer teams and playing golf and all type of shit. But they don't want to fucking do it. They would rather be at home playing video games and getting famous off things that they're actually good at. But they don't do it because of people like you, Patrick. People that force their sons and even to some extent daughters to fit a certain social expectation that you have for them, and it creates a lot of grievances through the minds of men and women everywhere. And we should stop doing that if we care about either gender, and we should let our kids actually make decisions themselves, because every story at the end of the day about somebody doing things that they don't want to do or that they don't feel good about doing does not end in them succeeding in or even building character at the end of it. It just ends at loneliness, depression, anxiety, anger, or even like homelessness, death, drug use. Every story doesn't end with somebody making $1 million.
Call by the father wasn't made. You and I may not know who Derek Jeter is.
Especially people that are already poor and shit like that, or not known in the industry. Because I think that he just said his father was already a known baseball player. A lot of people don't have that foot up in life. Some people are just like, okay, my dad is an electrician, and now I'm going to college. There's somebody out there really crazy enough to be riding a motorcycle in the fucking rain. I digress. But anyways, yeah. Everybody ain't lucky enough to have these foot ups in life. There's a lot of people that are socioeconomically behind in some ways or another. And they, or just like, live normal lives. And then their father sets expectations for them that they can't feel.
Here. So maybe a
good example of this is that that one episode of Batman Beyond Golem. Go check that out. Where Willie Watt was being bullied by somebody that was, of course, a lot bigger and stronger than him. The dad was, instead of, going to defend his son or teach his son other ways to defend himself, he went up saying like, oh, what are you going to do to the guy that did it? I expect this guy to get hurt, and stuff like that. And guess what? Willie Watt wound up becoming a fucking criminal. So even though, it's like science fiction and unrealistic, but the real part of the story is the toxic relationship that the father had with the son. And then when he was getting hauled off the juvenile, off the jail, he wanted to hug him and say, oh, I'm sorry. But it's too late. You created a monster because you wouldn't listen to him and let him be himself and let him be good at other things besides, physical toughness.
Men today need stronger role models to challenge them and to show them it is okay to go through challenges.
And unfortunately, we got too many of them because you have more people in society telling people that it's okay to sit back and not try as hard and try something new, rather than people, telling them you gotta give up, you can't give up, you gotta be on the grind, you gotta hustle hard, see through the darkness and fight the matrix. We got too many of you motherfuckers out here, and that's creating a toxic society where men are giving up.
It is okay to have to fight through. This is a part of becoming a man.
See, doing it now.
And it's natural. Next point is the walking on eggshells society that we're living in today.
No.
What do I mean by walking on eggshells?
I can't say the N-word anymore, so everybody is so sensitive. I gotta walk on eggshells. Back in 1954, I said the N-word all the time, but now I can't say it anymore.
People are afraid of offending today, okay? So when you're afraid of offending...
I think more men should be able to be nail technicians. How is that for offensive?
You don't want to share your opinion, and the way people learn who you really are...
What are your fucking opinions, bro? I hate this right-wing dipshit argument when these motherfuckers just want to say, slurs about people and, say fucked up stereotypes about, like, gay people and women and, Latino immigrants and what have you, fucking greasy-haired, stupid motherfucker. And then when people confront you for being, like, bigoted, you want to act like the whole world is getting more sensitive. No, the world is just not tolerating certain types of bigotry anymore. We're not going to outcast people. If anything, the world is becoming stronger because the world, especially among millennials and Generation Z, is refusing to outcast people because of dumbass stereotypes 50 and 60-year-old dipshits like you try to place in our fucking public conscience, dude. Like I said, fuck you. Maybe you need to think about the things why you feel about certain kinds of people a certain way. Why do you need to say certain shit, David? Why do you need to say that the Jews are controlling this and that or the other? And then when people get offended by some, bro, that's an anti-Semitic stereotype. You should shut the fuck up. You like, oh, everybody's so offended now. You and a bunch of these other motherfuckers say a lot of dumb, bigoted shit that you don't have to fucking say. And there's no reason for you to say it statistically. And even, because they're like, man, you don't know statistics about gay people or black people. No, not even about statistics. You're just generally a bad, shitty person for a lot of the dumb shit that y'all say. Because again, y'all don't have to say this shit, but y'all find y'all way to every fucking kind of bigotry. Anti-Semitism, anti-black racism, homophobia, transphobia, misogyny, simping for capitalism, calling fucking workers lazy. And you say these fucking things, and then when people call you all the time, go fuck yourself, Patrick. Everybody's so offended. Only thing I said was people don't work hard enough. And then it's some like fucking 22-year-old Amazon worker that just worked like 70 hours a fucking week. And then you still talking about some, this generation is so lazy. Let me tell you why. And like some Patrick, fuck you. Fuck you, that's why. You the person that's offended that people call you out for the dumb shit that you say. And like I said, you should do self-introspection and think about why you feel or think the way that you feel or think about certain types of people or towards the world in general. Because nobody owes you any fucking thing. Nobody owes you an apology. Like, you go around being like homophobic or racist or whatever, people got the right to tell you fuck you. Nobody has to accept your hatred, your disdain for people that are viewed as minorities or workers in general. And then not to mention the fact, a lot of your opinions are just factually incorrect. You full of shit with a lot of stuff that you say. Or you misuse data to fit your narrative when it's necessary at the time. So stop this shit.
Is by sharing your opinion and feelings about different issues. Now, in our...
Dude, I don't want to keep making like Jew jokes because I don't want to come off as like a Hebrew Israelite dumbass. But so I will switch it to a slavery joke. I'm not saying that slavery was good, but I'm saying that we brought black people Christianity. It's just my opinion. You see how the fuck I sound? I sound like a damn fool when I say that, right? And if that was my actual opinion, people would be like, hey James, skate park life, you sound like a damn fool. And it'd be in their rights to say it because I'm ignoring all the brutality and all the fucked up things that happened during slavery to say that, oh, we brought blacks Christianity. You know, stuff like that. Or how earlier in the fucking video, women, you know, felt like things were better before they started working. You know, maybe we should go back to that time. And then the woman is like, "Fuck off, you asshole! I work to keep myself not be vulnerable to abusive piece of shit like you." Oh man, everybody's so offended. No, you're the motherfucker that's offended because nobody has to accept your bigotry and your biases, dude. You still, well, I guess you know because I'm not actually talking to him, but he just can't get it. He can't get it through his fucking head. Like you have biases and grievances and you know preconceptions about different kinds of people or different ways of the world, and then when people tell you to go fuck yourself, you're the person that's the offended fucking snowflake. Because we have free speech, but it's not, it goes far beyond even talking about free speech. A lot of things that right-wing people say, they don't have a reason to say any of the shit that they say. They just want to offend people that they and they want to feel you know, they want to reinforce hierarchy, so they say offensive bad shit, often at a time that's factually incorrect or misused in some way or another.
Family, I talk about 4 things with my boys. We lead, we respect, we improve, we love. Respect, let's talk about that. If you constantly spend your life disrespecting people, you're eventually going to be alone and not successful in business because it doesn't work out if you want to disrespect everybody. People are not going to...
That's a right-wing phenomenon. If anything, that applies to right-wing dipshits like you, Patrick, and your so-called fake free speech warrior nonsense that you just said a few seconds ago. Applies directly to you, where you motherfuckers go around all fucking day, all the time, talking about how women are like, you know, supposed to be, you know, second guest all the fucking time and don't deserve the same respect as men. And then when people tell you up yours, you want to act like you're offended. That's a you problem. That's not a us problem. More, just like the Gothics video, these motherfuckers saying stuff that apply to them more than they do us.
Going to stick around in a work environment if you're disrespecting them. People are not going to be with you friendship-wise if you're constantly disrespecting them and judging them. And quite frankly...
Yeah, motherfuckers like you. Honey, I told you not to wear that today, you know? And it's just like a pair of cut-off shorts. But honey, we are going on a date today. I told you not to wear that. You like a whore. Get back in the house. We are a Christian household. You know, shit like that. Even though I'm Christian too, I'm making fun of, like, you know, people that are like that. But funnily enough, yeah, people like you, Dave. Dude, like, the self-owns don't eat.
Now, offending is a different story. Today, they're trying very, very hard to cause men to be careful with their thoughts and what they say. And
nobody is telling you to be careful with what you think or what you say. People are just telling people to not be bigoted, dude. It's not fucking hard. And, you know, even me, when I was growing up, I didn't grow up perfect, you know. I was black, obviously. I think so. I don't know. But I think I'm, you know, maybe. But, you know, I had biases. You know, I was kind of a homophobe, kind of a transphobe, kind of a misogynist. Kind of had a lot of stereotypes about different kinds of people because how they dressed or acted. But I learned those biases and I learned why I was wrong by, you know, research and also directly interacting with people that I had these biases against. You don't have to spend your whole life believing bigoted shit about people, and it's up to you to unlearn it. The world does not owe you no fucking handshake, you know. You can unlearn this shit at any time, but y'all choose not to. Y'all hold on to it, and then when nobody wants to be friends with you and people don't want you to speak, you know, around them and shit, you know, you get shut out of things or, you know, kicked off social media and shit. You want to act like it's everybody else's fault. No, it's your fault. Then literally the argument is circular. Even though as much as I love debating, you can tell somebody, like, you know, gay people are 4 times more likely to get assaulted than than the other way around, right? You know, it's the NYU data I brought up in that really old video. Talking about the Hotep Umar. Like, you could be talking to anybody, any right wing person, whether it's a Hotep, Hebrew Israelite, neo-Nazi, fascist, or, you know, just a MAGA Republican. You tell them, like, you know, gay people are 4 times more likely to be, well, trans people are 4 times more likely to be the victims of assault. It says LGBT anyway, but yeah, they're 4 times more likely to be the victim of assault than they are to be the perpetrator. And then they be like, well, that's fine and all, but, you know, the deep state elites can rig data And then it'll be like some, well, I saw this story about this woman named Jessica Yaniv and Chris Chan. And you're just like, dude, 4 times more likely. It's like a big study right here. I don't care about the study. I care about my biases from these 2 articles. And so then people be like, fuck it, I'm not hanging out with you. And it's your fault, your problem, you know? Or people that, apologize for the Confederacy. Shit like that. But like the Civil War was about slavery. Well, I think it was about states' rights because Lincoln was violating the institution of sanctity of America by ending slavery. No, it wasn't about slavery. We're going to free the slaves eventually. When were they going to free the slaves in the South? Just a few years later, it was going to happen anyway. When? It didn't really seem, if they went to war over it, really didn't feel like they were going to free the slaves. It was going to happen. And then people don't want to hang around you. That's your fault. Enough with the analogies. Let me keep going.
Something that's going to offend somebody, you're walking on eggshells. I don't know many leaders that I call leaders who walk on eggshells that are not comfortable sharing their thoughts on different issues.
And then I can end this segment on saying this, because this has crushed anything that you have to say. Don't think that being a left-leaning person is about being nice to everybody and not offending people. And let me tell you something also. I said in a previous video, being a right-wing person with a bunch of bigotry and pre-existing biases against others does not make you a transgressing person in society. You are for the status quo if you have right-wing or far-right beliefs about different kinds of people. Because if you're a racist, you're pro-racial hierarchy. If you're a homophobe, you're pro-heteronormativity. Or being a transphobe fits there too. If you're pro-capitalism, you are, for the system that we live under. You're not transgressing by defending the status quo of people being under others. So, you can stop that shit. That fake populism. Like, oh man, leaders offend people. They just go out in public and say, the N-word with the hard R. No.
Share their thoughts, but they get better at their soft skills to know how to deliver their messages better. That's something you're going to get better at for the rest of your life.
And it doesn't matter how you deliver the message. If it's something offensive and stupid, people are going to call you out for it. Don't believe that either.
Walking on eggshell society where you're sitting there by yourself, not really sharing your thoughts, it's as if you don't exist. You're non-existent.
And if anything, before we end this segment, I think one piece of advice I can truly give to men is that if you're having problems in your life and going through things that you don't understand, do not go on YouTube videos with dipshits like this in a manosphere trying to describe to you why things are the way that they are. You see people like Patrick, Fresh and Fit, Andrew Tate, Sneeko, Aiden Ross, and all these other motherfuckers in the manosphere. Coach Red Pill, who I think is in Ukrainian prison at this point, they benefit from your socioeconomic deprivation. They benefit from your depression, because I want to say both of those. They benefit from you further not understanding the world and following their bad advice. So if you want to understand the world, you're better off, actually, ironically enough, talking to a woman, talking to a gay person, talking to a union organizer, talking to a therapist, talking to, more left-leaning people, because these are the people in communities that you can find the best solutions at. Like, ironically enough, having, a gay friend can teach you a lot about dating and meeting women instead of going around like, oh, gay people, I heard this and that about them, so I don't really trust them. You got to open up to the world and open up to different ways to understand and see the world. Because if you spend your whole life closed off and thinking that the world has to be a certain way and just work for you, you will never learn anything, and the world won't get better for you. Because the world is just not so one-noted as women being submissive to men, or gay people being this, or black or Hispanic people being that. The world is multifaceted and changing every day. And to be a better man, and be a stronger man, and have a better understanding about the world, it's good to ask people that are different than you how things work.
Just not what men do. The next thing I want to talk to you about is competition. Society wants to convince you that competition is not healthy for you. By the way, the same
it's really the fuck not, because this is the capitalism thing right here. Because we're not talking about a boxing match. Now, if you're in, let's say, skateboarding contest, a boxing match, or a skateboarding contest, no, for real. But if you're in like a boxing match playing basketball, football, and you got some healthy competition going on where, you're on like a team or something like that, or you have a pickup game of soccer with your friends on the weekend, there's nothing wrong with that. By competition, we mean stepping over people's dead bodies to make it in life. Like, for instance, with the whole not unionizing thing that we see going on still. Even though people are unionizing more and people are showing more, worker solidarity among our classes and shit, people are still, like you, Patrick, have this idea that the only way for a man to make it in society is by stepping over each other and showing the boss, showing the capitalist, the rich person, that you are better than other workers, instead of just being like, you know what? Everybody in this plant should go up to this office and tell him to go fuck himself. You incentivize a society where working people compete with each other and, have biases against each other, like you just tried to justify in the last segment, like being bigoted. That was that entire last segment, was trying to justify people being bigoted and competing with each other instead of uniting together with each other. Like, you won't even acknowledge the fact that women can be working class too. You won't say that. You will say that women have been indoctrinated about feminism to think that they supposed to work, when it's just like, at the end of the day, a working class woman has more in common with a working class man than people like you would let on. But instead of telling men and women to work together in society for a better future, you tell them to compete with each other. You literally teach men to have a adversary relationship with women and to have a bootlicking sentiment, with their boss and managers and whatever. So, you can stop this shit where you're trying to say like, oh, men are not taught to compete anymore. Hurry up.
People that are selling you that are those who lost, who don't know how to handle it. The reality of it is, socialist boys have limited options. Capitalist men have unlimited options in every aspect of their life.
You have more options together with your friends that you work with than you do separately. Because if you work separately and you're trying to do everything yourself, you're going to be depressed, angry, and you're going to have to work a lot harder to achieve any fucking thing in your life. Like, this dude has the nerve to be talking about some socialist boys. No, socialist men are the reasons why we have so many. And I'm not saying like the United States of America or any of the Western like social democracies are like workers' paradises of anything, but strong men fought for all the shit that the very few things that we have, paid time off, Social Security, fucking pensions, and the right to organize in a union in general. People fought, bled, and died to be able to stay home on the fucking weekend. So this bullshit about men should like be individuals and stand away from each other makes men weaker. It makes you an easier target for the socialists when you don't want to walk arm in arm with your fellow brother or your sister or non-binary person. So like this shit about people trying, because I guess you can say I am like really offended, because like I said, like I've been working in factories and shit since I was like 18, 19 years old, and this dude has been clearly pampered his entire fucking life and never had to struggle or worry about an emergency. But he's saying that everybody else is lazy and everybody else that doesn't agree with his bullshit is some type of boy. And then, like I said, he's trying to like literally keep you away from the socialist thing or the idea of unity with your fellow working class brother or sister, whatever in between. Like, and like I said, this makes men weaker. It makes us all as workers weaker. It makes you an easy target. This is why, like, for instance, because unionizing is the perfect example for this, is that why do you think that these employers incentivize competitions? Why do you think that they incentivize not unionizing? Why do you think they say shit like whoever hits 200 parts today will get $100? To incentivize competition and division among the workers, because they know when people actually work together. Why do you think union busting is a thing? Why do you think people pay this jackass these because literally a lot of these videos are funded by like far right super PACs that don't want America to become more left leaning. But these sucker ass people like him promote this nonsense after getting paid by propaganda organizations like the Heritage Foundation. Whenever they promote this shit, because it benefits the wealthy when people are divided and competing with each other. And like I said, if you want to play like a sport or something like that, like basketball or football, you're in like a skateboarding contest, you play golf or soccer, and you're competing with somebody, that's cool. But you shouldn't compete with your fellow man at your job all the time, 24/7. There's times where you need to stand together in solidarity with your fellow worker and demand better treatment from your boss. You don't need, because like I said, this shit is, or have roommates, or admit when you can't do something, ask for help, or admit when you're struggling mentally and ask for help. because this individualist capitalist bullshit, this do everything, I'm for myself, by myself shit, is what's literally causing men to commit suicide. And if you want to keep yourself away from being another statistic, another person that's been grinded out by the system, you need to learn how to work together with your fellow man.
Life, where they live, where they travel to, where they eat, who they date, anything you want. They have an unlimited supply of options, and unfortunately,
that's only because a lot of these people were born rich. And that's not to say that these people, especially nowadays, have an unlimited pool of people that they date. Because you'll be surprised who women will fucking date instead of some rich person who probably sees them as property.
Don't like the fact that you have more options. You know, when I was 14 years old, I was playing this basketball association for troubled teenagers. I'm in a league with
completely different.
With Black Diamonds.
I knew he was gonna fucking do this, bro. Don't try to I guess it ain't gonna be about the basketball game, because I was gonna say I know he's not gonna compare dealing with the socioeconomic ills of capitalism with a game of basketball. I wasn't thinking that Patrick could be that stupid.
Sureños, 18 with the Blood Crip, all these guys. And one day we're in this tournament and only 5 of our players showed up, and we played against a team that had a full lineup, and we lost by 104 points. They gave us this trophy that my dad has till today, a last place trophy, and he puts it right there and he says, you know why we have this trophy? To remind you how bad you lost. It's almost like, experience the pain, son. And I'm like, dude, throw that thing away. He says, no, you lost by 104 points. Look at the psyche of a father. A mother would say, why would you do that to him? That hurts his feeling, my dad's.
It's not about hurting your feelings. It's about it being psychological torture, telling your son that he's constantly not doing good enough and reminding him of his failures. Which is probably why the reason we got to deal with the toxic dipshit that you are now.
Like, that's exactly what he needs.
Can you hurry up, man?
Loss makes a man come back and improve. Makes him stay up late at night practicing while everybody else is sleeping.
Which is very toxic. That's psychological torture to constantly remind somebody of their failures. That's like you going through a divorce and somebody saying like, how you lost your woman, how you lost your woman, how you lost your woman. Or you losing a car in an accident, how you lost your car, how you lost your car, how you lost your car. Or, you know, you get fired from a job, how you lost your job, how you lost your job, how you lost your job. Nobody constantly needs to hear that they failed or that they didn't do something. People who failed at or didn't do something don't need to keep rehearing it. And the fact that anybody would try to, you know, force somebody to be like, oh, you know, you lost, you know, you need to do better. You constantly saying that over and over again, and you're not trying to comfort that person through the loss that they experience, makes you a toxic piece of shit. It's not good parenting.
This guy say one day I'm gonna prove.
And there's nothing wrong with because like I said, if for instance, you know, I had a son that lost at something, right? I wouldn't be like look, we're gonna put the trophy right there. It's gonna remind you of how bad you suck. You're a loser. You lost. Look at it. I'd be like hey man, you know, it sucks that you lost, but there's always gonna be a next time. You know, you just try harder next time. Maybe you can practice a little bit, and you can win. And even if you don't, I love you anyway. That's what a father is supposed to say to his son. You're not supposed to be like, you know, holding expectations in front of your son's like face. That's fucked up.
Prove to the world that I'm a winner. So, going back to you, there's nothing wrong with competing. There's nothing wrong.
There is something wrong competing because, like I said, it makes you weaker as a worker. It makes you weaker as a person. It makes you an easy target for a capitalist exploitation when you are being an individual. That's why this propaganda exists in general, is to keep working class men from thinking about organizing with each other to fight for a better future. You're always stronger together at your workplace. You're stronger together out in the streets. You're stronger together no matter what you do in your life. There's nothing wrong with leaning back on and working with other people. You can't always compete in every single thing and subject that you do. That's a very toxic way of thinking and toxic way of living. Leads to men becoming suicidal. Again.
With losing. As long as you keep showing up and competing, eventually you're going to get your shot. But you're better off being a capitalist than being a socialist, because being a socialist is just not attractive. Final thoughts here. Look, as you're going.
And notice that I'm married. Notice that one thing that I notice about these right-wing commentaries when they say that socialists, quote unquote, aren't attractive. Number one, there's a recent study that came out that said women are not sleeping with or tolerating right-wing men because a lot of them are misogynist abusers anyway. But these motherfuckers will say that women don't want real men, they just want soy boy cucks, they won't date a real masculine man like me, while at the same time saying that being a socialist is not attractive and we get all the women. And then turn around and say again that women don't understand what a real man is. That's why I'm single. These people can't decide if they're coming or going.
Going through the process from being a boy to a man, or from a man to a man's man. Many times you're by yourself. Say you don't have a father figure. Say you don't have a strong male role model. You don't know who to talk to. You're trying to please everybody. Your mom's telling you, well, that's not the way to behave. And you don't have another man to bounce off the idea to think if it's a good idea or not. You're like, okay, I'm going to...
That's a good idea, that you don't have to please people. And perhaps at the end of the day, if you don't have a father in your life, it's okay to listen to a lot of advice that your mom gives you, because she's a living human being who has lived far longer than you have, that understands the intricacies of how to live and survive in our society. So you should listen to the shit that she has to say. Somebody being a male or female, presenting either way, does not mean that their advice is better or worse. And besides, these days you can have a feminine presenting man that says that, so what, his opinion doesn't fucking matter? Who knows?
Please my mom. I'm going to please my teacher, who's a woman. I'm going to please my girl, who's a female. I'm going to please my...
See, here it is. This is what I'm talking about. Like, you're not a real man if you go around trying to please women all day. But then when, the woman that you want gets pleased by, so-called soy boy socialists, y'all be going around fucking on these streets talking about women are too masculine nowadays and don't want real men. Here it is. You can't decide if you're coming or going. So, which is it, Patrick? Are women abrasive and individualists, like, workers, like you try to teach men to be? Or are women just, like, stupid and docile and try to teach men to be the same way? You can't decide what you want to say, man.
Girlfriend's mom, you're trying to please everybody, and you're becoming less and less and less of a man. And you're in the car by yourself saying, man, I'm losing my identity. I don't even know who I am. Then you lean towards making bad decisions.
Look, I think I left it in the
take a time out away from everybody and sit down and say, what do I stand for? What are your values and principles? What do you stand for as a man?
This is the one good piece of advice that he's ever given in this entire video. This is the one thing I agree with 100%, because as a man, myself personally, outside of, the people that lived in my neighborhood or the father figures I had at the time, even though, both of them at the end of the day, I kind of feel it wasn't really so bad. But I always wanted to find my own identity as a person. I didn't want to be a basketball player. I didn't want to be a football player. I didn't want to be a gangster. I just wanted to have fun doing nerd shit. So I slowly developed my own niches, my own talents, and my own, my own way of life. And as a man or even a woman, that's just something that you have to do sometimes. Don't try to be a carbon copy of somebody. Try to be yourself.
Man, what do you want to do with your life? What kind of a leader you want to be in your life? You. Who do you want to be?
You don't have to be a leader.
Not what everybody's trying to force you to become. Who do you want to be? Then go solve for that. And when you do that, be prepared for some people to not like it.
Yeah, this is 100% some good advice, because sometimes you can pick directions in life that Patrick wouldn't like. Like if you're a man that wants to be a nurse or a teacher, or you want to do hair, nails, you're a man that wants to get into like financial consulting, or not necessarily most like masculine shit. You don't want to lift weights. You just want to go home, sit on the game of Call of Duty after 40 hours a week. Patrick thinks that you're a piece of shit. So you can't you can't listen to what people have to say based on the decisions that you make in your life. And that is the last piece of advice. Yeah, and it's okay to not compete with people. Don't listen to him. You heard him. It's okay to not be a bigoted piece of shit, to not try to forcibly offend people. It's okay to not try to be strong all the time. It's okay to be understanding. It's okay to be the person in the corner and the fly on the wall. So, yeah. The one good piece of advice.
That includes a lot of women in your life. Makes sense. And then all of a sudden you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm finding more men like myself out there. Fantastic. They're out there. They're everywhere. You can find them.
Man, I was gay. Well, there's no reason for me to continue this video. This video, at the end of the day, outside of the last part, was pretty fucking stupid. I think I said a lot at the beginning of this video about being a man, But the most important thing that I learned about being a man is being strong enough to be gentle and knowing when to fall back on and rely on others and work together with other people. You cannot spend your entire life living, like I said, that individualist, capitalist, libertarian, do-it-myself bullshit. That is a very toxic way of thinking, and it's the very thing that's leading a lot of men to suicide. It's okay to be weak in some moments. It's okay to talk about your problems, and it's okay not to compete with people, let alone see women as adversaries in your life. With that said, masculinity and being a man is not about being strong all the time. It can also be about when you can show weakness or when you can show love. And I really don't got nothing else to add to this, and I'm kind of tired now. So, Skate Punk Lefty, you have a good rest of your day.